Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another UKPW Insider. I am the Mouthpiece from the South-East, or quite simply Mouthpiece. You know the rest. I'm not even going to get into it. So today I'm pleased to bring you one half of the former UKPW Tag Team Champions, Mr. James Earls. You all right, James?
Hello, mate. Hello, everybody out there in TV land.
Happy New Year to you.
To you too.
So how's lockdown been treating yourself?
I got made redundant back in June.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that kind of sucked. That was a kind of kick in the teeth. I was one of the stupid ones that, believed it would have been over within 3 months. Because we all lived through. We all lived through SARS and mad cow disease and things like that, and you think, yeah, it'd be fine. But that came back to kick me in the arse.
Yeah, I was one of those ones who thought it would be a short-lived thing and it'll be, over and done with. And here we are, almost like a year later, almost, and still going. Before we get on all to the wrestling bit, let's get to know you a bit more about yourself. One thing a lot of us that know about you is you love your sports. You love your football, both English and American.
And American,
Big fan of the NFL, which I do believe the colour of your ring attire is matches the love of your favourite NFL team. Is that correct?
Yes. I wear the colours of the Denver Broncos, orange and blue. Because it looks really smart, and that's what I found on Bizabazza. To be honest, when I was buying I bought all my gear from Adrian Street. Off of his old eBay store, so it's all plain colours, but I can mix and match and stand out. But my main go-to is the orange and blue because no one's doing it, and it makes me stand out. It's the one thing I've learned from of the professional wrestlers I've met. I met Rob Van Dam many years ago at a signing, and it was myself, my friend Stuart, and a few others that we'd all been training with. Rob Lynch, who was with us. And he was stood there, and everybody's asking the same boring questions. I just walked up and how you doing? How's your wife at the time? And things like that. But he asked the wrestling questions, and he said, "What do I need to do to stand out, to be different?" And Rob Van Dam said, "Colours. Colours will make you stand out." And that's what I say to anybody that ever asks me in any training school, anything like that. Stand out, colours, whether it be plain, just a pair of plain tights, as long as you've got a bit of colour about you and not just black and red or red and black, some real colour, you will stand out because people will remember colours more than the face. So.
Yeah, Buff Broadside, probably one of the other well-known colourful personalities. I've always colours huge with him. But also, you say about standing out with colours. It's not just your ring attire that stands out about you. You are the man that always looks amazing. Shows when you're not even competing in your absolutely stunning standout suits. I mean, my favourite personally is the R2-D2 one, which someone may not have sent you. How many of these type of suits you got? Because I've seen you in a few of those.
I've got 4 at the moment. It took a lot of arm twisting of the wife to buy them, to be honest. Because she went, "Well, how often are you going to wear them?" I said, "Well, if I get booked every month, I'll be wearing a new one every month." Because I was trying to explain to her, I can't be seen in the same venue in the same suit back to back.
Yeah,
that's an old wrestling thing. Macho Man was never seen on TV in the same outfit.
Correct.
He was never seen in the same, and I try and take that. So the likes of Jimmy Hart would have the different types of coats. My hero Jim Cornette would have the different coloured suits as well. Oh yes, I've become more cantankerous in lockdown from listening to Jim Cornette. It's just things like that. So I was obviously, before lockdown happened and all that, I was going to buy a few more. I've got a few more. I've got my eye on. I've got a SpiderMan one, a Batman one, Pac-Man one, and the R2-D2 one. The Pac-Man one's my second favourite, I will say that.
I think I've seen all 3 but the Batman one. I remember I've seen the other 3.
I have worn the Batman one, I think, in Falconwood. It's very wide awake, that suit, and I got a lot of attention wearing that on the way home on the train, I was. So, yeah.
Oh, that's brilliant. Let's... I think co-owner Alex Gilbert mentioned apparently he has a love for every NFL team.
That's why I'm drinking out of this mug for Alex right now. It's got a rare one now, the old Washington logo. You won't see that anymore.
Not anymore. They changed their name.
They had to change their name, yeah. You know, like emotions and all that.
The years of Mouthpiece.
Alex likes to wind me up about that. It's just a running gag with Alex. When it all started, Alex would just shout football at me, and he still does it. He just shout, he go football, and then that'd be it. Yeah, I love Alex to pieces. He's a good lad.
But you and Alex do have West Ham United in common.
Yes.
Yes. When did you first fall in love with West Ham? Can you remember how old you were? What the first game was that you ever saw?
Oh, I didn't go see a game till I was in my till I was in my 20s. I got a West Ham kit when I was very, very young. It was the first football kit I was ever given, and then about 2 weeks later, one of my uncles bought me an Arsenal kit, and yeah, because all my family are Arsenal. Actually, all my family are Arsenal. We've got 2 Tottenham. We've got 2 Chelsea. Everybody else is Arsenal. And he bought me an Arsenal kit and indoctrinated me into Arsenal for years. He used to take me to games and things like that. And then I started working up in the West End, and I just started hanging around with a group of lads and all that, and a few of them went to West Ham, and that was it. I started going watching games with them. And it was like finding a new woman. I fallen out of love with the old one and fell in love with the new one.
Yeah, I mean, if I had to support a London-based team, it would probably be West Ham. I can't stand Arsenal, I can't stand Chelsea, I can't stand Spurs. So I've always had a little side of West Ham.
Yeah. I mean, going to, I will say, I'll never regret my time going to watch Arsenal, because I got to see from the birth of the Premier League. That's when I started going to football. So I got to see the transition from the long ball system to tiki-taka and all that, and the different class of players. I got to see people like Dennis Bergkamp play. You know, there are not players like that nowadays. You can go about your modern players. Nobody is the class of Dennis Bergkamp. Nobody.
I was, and obviously it was obviously more recent because it was only a sort of few seasons ago. But I remember being up watching United play and being I was watching Zlatan Ibrahimovic.
Yeah.
And this guy's career I'd been following for ages, and he's one of those ones who's obviously probably not the most skillful, but he's one of those very unique players that only comes around once every millennium.
He was one of them like sort of niche players that when you had FIFA, the early FIFAs, you'd go and buy him and put him in the squad because he'd be dirt cheap and you could afford him. Ibrahimovic, he's one of the last few ones because he's a character, but you watch him get the ball, something different.
He'd back it up most of the time as well. Absolutely. That was the thing. Yeah. And that's the thing. It's nice when we grow old gracefully and we look back and we go, oh yeah, I was lucky enough to go and see that legend play. You hear about the people who saw people like Bobby Moore, you know, first and all that lot, and Bobby Charlton, that lot play. Before our time, we're the ones who got to see the likes of Cristiano Ronaldo, Lionel Messi, Dennis Bergkamp.
I don't rate Messi. Thank you.
Overrated. Thank you.
He's a one-man player. He's played in the Spanish league, which is the equivalent of playing in the Scottish league.
And he's not been as good since Xavi and Iniesta left.
No, and he's never done it internationally. And that's the one thing that is, I don't like Ronaldo, but that's why Ronaldo is better than him, because Ronaldo has done it internationally and at club level. And real football people will understand that. And I don't care if this gets into a heated debate backstage at the next show. Bring it on. I don't care. I know Gabe. Will come at me about this.
Oh, will he now? Oh, yeah. I've got the hit man now. Jesus. Let's start delving into wrestling. Obviously, following you on social media, I know lately you're very vocal. I mean, I've loved some of the tweeting replies you've put on certain things, which are genius. They're absolutely comical. Let's talk about your. Alex would call it. He loves it really. AEW. My issue with AEW is I feel like they missold me a product because they claim to be the saviour of the everyday wrestling fan, of the ones who grew up loving WCW, previous WWE. This was going to be the alternatives, and for me, they're not doing that much different to what we see in WWE and that anyway.
No, they're for a niche audience. They're for all the neckbeards out there. It is a case of, if you haven't followed these people on the indies, then, like I say, I don't watch wrestling weekly anymore. I stopped doing it because I've had many conversations with Kieran Corrupt about this. The weekly shows are basically an infomercial. It's an infomercial to get you to buy the product and to buy the pay-per-views. If you don't watch those shows and you watch the pay-per-views like I do, you can enjoy the show a bit more. You can enjoy it because you can see the stories being told. And these also with the VTs they run and all that. They both run the best VTs. You can't complain about their video packaging.
No.
Companies. But for me, AEW is, if you're not in on the gag, then that's it. It's click wrestling. It really is. And yeah. Okay, the football fields thing I had massive problems with, but I got over it. I moved on. But when I said goodbye to it was when Jericho and MJF started singing, because I fell in love with MJF watching MLW, and I know he could sing, but the fact that they did it, and it was just like, no, I'm done now. I'm signed off completely. It's going to take a long time. It's going to take a while for any. The only thing that will bring me back is if they push Hangman Page properly.
I like Adam Page. I think he's brilliant.
Hangman Page. I bought a T-shirt. I bought a Hangman Page T-shirt, and I didn't realise it had the AEW logo in the middle. Yeah, and Kieran keeps ribbing me about that. So he's like, "He bought AEW merchandise." No, I bought Adam Page's merchandise because it's going to Adam Page's pocket.
Oh no, yeah, because Alex, the co-owner, he calls the Stadium Stampede the greatest match.
It really isn't. The greatest match of all time is Undertaker Zuna Survivor Series casket match because it has Chuck Norris in it. You can't beat that. You cannot beat that.
I remember that. It was Jeff Jarrett, wasn't it, when he was on his way down and he just kicked him.
He was dared to. He was dared to do it. Jarrett. They were all daring each other, and Jarrett was the one that took it up and went down there. And Norris was wearing such tight jeans he couldn't get his leg up, so he just kicked him in the stomach.
See, in today's WWE world, it will probably be Chuck Norris's enforcer. Chuck Norris somehow leaves with the Universal Championship.
Oh yeah, but that's the thing. WWE product is completely different to what we grew up with. It's fighting against football, Dances with the Stars, and things like that. It is a fully entertainment show, and it's bad entertainment, to be honest.
What did you make of the Edge Randy Orton, the greatest wrestling match?
I enjoyed it because they're two great guys. Randy Orton is the GOAT. Yeah. Randy Orton is the GOAT. And do you know why he's the GOAT? Because he doesn't proclaim to be the GOAT. He's been a constant in WWE for nearly, 15 years?
Oh, yeah. Well, over coming up 20, it would be. Because it was 2002, I think it was, that he first came in as...
Yeah, so he's been a constant in that company for so long, and he can do. What's great about Orton is he doesn't change his style in the ring or anything. He just whether he's a good guy or a bad guy, it just depends on who he's feuding with. That's all it is at the moment. Randy Orton is the best. He's so smooth. I mean, I know he's had a couple of nasty injuries. I think the collarbone one. I remember watching that, and I felt so bad for him because him and Triple H were having such a great match. And then when he went over the top and he broke his collarbone, but yeah, Randy Orton is the GOAT. He's up there for me. He's up there with Flair and Austin. He's up there.
Yeah, I mean, I know it was on this why they had Raw Legends, but what the whole point of that was, I'll never understand. But
to pop a rating because the show's in the toilet.
Well, it didn't help matters because it wasn't what I expect. I mean, obviously, I think the absence of the crowd doesn't help matters, but I actually thought the biggest plus of that show was Orton with his backstage segments, the way he got in the face of Mark Henry, he was belittling him, Big Show, the way he does it with that intensity, just being a complete and utter arsehole, really.
Yeah, Orton, at the end of the day, no screaming, no shouting, just the way he says things.
It's funny you should mention that. The backstage segment with Sheamus, Drew McIntyre, they're talking, having a normal conversation. They're talking to the camera normally. Along comes Hogan and Jimmy Hart. shouting like 80s style and everything.
You're gonna. I mean, I as much as the 80s, when it comes to me cutting the promo, and the rare times I've got to cut a recorded promo, I've gone full 80s. I think it was the first showcase, and they wanted to do like a team. I was in that 8-man tag match, and they wanted to do like an old school promo, and all I had in my head was WrestleMania 8, Repo Man, Nasty Boys, and the greatest series of promos ever. Anyone that's looking to learn how to cut a promo, go and find those promos, particularly the Repo Man. He's amazing in them. But I went full 80s, and I just started rambling off, and people in the they might have other opinions, but the people in the dressing room stopped to listen to me cut this promo, and they might have thought, what's he talking about? But there might be other people going, Jesus, I mean, Earls can talk. Earls can verbalise. So, yeah, they never made the light of day, sadly.
Well, that is a shame, to be fair. That is a shame, because I actually really would have loved to have seen that. One of my favourite things, which you don't see a lot of, again from WrestleMania 8, the Bret Hart, Roddy Piper face-to-face, almost friendly sort of thing, you know.
A great match, a very underrated match, because it's great storytelling in that match.
Best match Piper had in WWE, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, well, it was because he was in.
It was.
Yeah, people rag on WrestleMania 8, but WrestleMania 8 is very much like WrestleMania 19. It's got some class matches on there that people forget about. WrestleMania 8, Shawn Michaels and Tito Santana, the opening match. If you can't have a match as good as that, what are you doing?
And bearing in mind, that's when Shawn was breaking out as a solo competitor as well. Yeah. And, you know, he goes up against a guy like Tito Santana, who was a veteran still at that point. You know, it was absolutely outstanding. And, I mean, one thing I took away from that was the Undertaker, Jake Roberts, because Jake Roberts was this legendary veteran of the ring, and Taker was still quite fresh. He was only in his, second year?
Yeah, second Mania.
And, you know, absolutely wiped the floor with him. You know, so... But, I mean, Flair Savage had an incredible build-up with the private pictures of Miss Elizabeth and the way...
She was fine first.
It was a major mark for Flair having Heenan and Kurt Hennig as his entourage.
Being a kid, you believed those were fake pictures. You were like, how could this... Miss Elizabeth? I mean, Roll Tide. Miss Elizabeth, Roll Tide. But you think, they've doctored the pictures somehow, because then you have the Macho Man in the exact same positions and things like that. And as a kid, it was mind-blowing. But, yeah, obviously now you become more jaded and a bit more cynical about stuff. But, yeah.
I always loved Flair back in those days when he had his bigger white hair, because he would always bleed. He would always end up with crimson hair.
Yeah.
But foul, always, without foul. What was your earliest wrestling memory? What got you hooked?
Being a man who's creeping up to 40, and I didn't know how that happened recently. First memory is World of Sport, and I can't remember his wrestling. I can remember Big Daddy and Mark Rocco. I can remember those two because I think it's more of the outfits, because Mark Rocco was always colourful. And so was Big Daddy. So, yeah, World of Sport on a Saturday afternoon at the time, because it was after it'd been moved from the 5 o'clock to the earliest start. So, yeah, I remember it being on TV, and then I remember it not being on TV. And those were my early memories of wrestling. And then WrestleMania 7 was the first WWF show I ever saw, because it was on Sky Movies Plus, and my dad recorded it for me. And I got to see these crazy characters, and I was like, what, is this wrestling? This is weird. It's Big Ben. Yeah.
Speaking of, as well, before we carry on with the wrestling, speaking of, obviously we know UKPW is under new co-ownership.
Yes.
And Alex Gilbert. You are a co-owner. British Heritage.
Founder. Yeah, co-owner, co-founder.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about them.
BHW started out as an idea in a chicken shop between 3 friends. It was myself, Ian Loveless, and Aaron Smith. As most people that start a wrestling company, you start one because you're not getting booked anywhere and you're not seeing the wrestling you like. So you start your own company. And we did. Raven Kemp used to be involved in some of those meetings. It started off. It didn't start off bad. I mean, we had a lot of friends that did a lot of favours, come along and helped us out for the first few shows and that. And it took a while for us to really figure out what we were going to do and get our feet in the ground. And Aaron sort of moved on to do other things, but he's still massively part of the company. I hope his health is getting better. But once he's healthy, he'll be back. And I'm sorry, I'm getting emails on my phone. The main focus now is myself and Ian, with help from Buff Broadside. He gets involved too with some booking and some help with cash, and Kieran Corrupt as well. He's involved with a bit of agenting too. Last year, which we only managed to put on one show, which was Wrestle Clash, and it was our first big show. Like I say, UKPW's got Showcase. BCW had WrestleFest, and I was like, I like the name Clash, and I for age I was just putting something to Clash, because I've been going back and watching lots of Clash of Champions. It's like, I'll see you at the Clash and things like that. So I was like, that just sounds great in a promo. So Wrestle Clash, just put it together.
Simple
simple as. So we had Wrestle Clash, really a fairly successful show. Dow Jones was there; he was on it. He got to wrestle Priscilla, the Queen of the Ring. Once I get round to it, I've had it sitting there for a year, but I've got to put the footage together and put it out there for people to see. Very entertaining match. You couldn't get two different people, to be honest. Very good match. And Priscilla, excuse me, fantastic talent. It's something different, something new. She might even liven up the women's division when it starts. So yeah, we had that. We had a very successful show. We made a good bit of money, and then we were getting ready for the next show, and then the show after that, which was called Thunder Slam, because I was in an 80s mood, and I was like, oh, Thunder Slam. It just sounds.
They work. That's the thing with the 80s. SummerSlam worked. I mean, they're still using it. Let's face it.
Exactly. And I was like, Thunder Slam. It sounds great. So Thunder Slam has been postponed, obviously, until we get back to normal. So Thunder Slam will happen, but it all depends on COVID restrictions. Look, this is how I feel about it. If you can take the vaccine, take it. Look, if it means for you to go on holiday, take it. It's the same thing if you want to go to a country where you've got to take a malaria shot now. That is what it is. Take the shot. We can just move on with stuff.
Yeah, that was my outview. They can stick me with anything. It's just going to give me my freedom to live my life and do the things I love again. Then stick me with it. I don't care.
We need, particularly the live event industry needs to come. I used to work in live events. I used to be a special effects technician. Unfortunately, I got made redundant because the events industry shut up shop. My department had 6 people in it. It's now gone down to. I had 7 people in it. It's now gone down to 4. Department I used to work in. It's gone down to 4 people. I was in the unlucky group. I missed out by a point. I hold no grudges because it's no one's fault. This is no one's fault. I can't blame. Well, I can blame China, but there is no one person I can blame. There is not a person I can blame for this.
No.
So BHW will ride again. Just fingers crossed. Same as UKPW. Fingers crossed.
Oh, I can't wait till it does. It's just I can't believe it's been over a year since we've had any shows. It's just absolutely insane. Let's talk a little bit about your partnership with Ian Loveless in the ring. As I said, former UKPW Tag Team Champions. Speak a little bit of what it's been like for all the time you've been teaming with Ian in various different promotions. You run as Tag Team Champions, and also what the future holds for the two of you as a team or individually for yourself. I'm one of the. I will do what the promoter asks. If the promoter wants us as a tag team, I'm all for it. If the promoter wants to run me as a singles wrestler, that's all fine. That's just the way it is. I love tagging with Ian because I don't have to communicate. I can sort of sense what he's doing. I've known Ian for so long now. Ian was at the trainers at the FWA South London Training School the first day I started, so I've known Ian since I couldn't fall over. I've known Ian that long, so I'd love another run with Ian. I know, but that's up to the booking committee. I wouldn't mind a singles run myself, just to show people I can do other stuff.
But yeah, the tag team run, tagging with Ian is great. The tag team run we had wasn't. It wasn't particularly great, but you know that's just wrestling at the end of the day.
Yeah.
I could piss and moan about everything, but it just make me a very bitter old man.
What I love about Ian, I love how much the passion he has for old school wrestling. You know, things like Mount Evans rules matches, things like that. I love that.
Doing it. That's why no one's doing it. He's doing it.
And we've heard Rumble Wrestling Promotions. They're going to be having matches back under Mount Evans rules. They've renamed one of their light heavyweight championship as the Mal Mason.
Yeah, which is really nice thing to do. See, at BHW, the thing was with the Mount Evans rules, that was Ian's gimmick. So when Ian was the champion for 5 years, we've been going for 7 years. Ian was champion for 5. That's only because we ran shows sporadically. So you only do 2 shows a year. That's it. It doesn't matter. But Ian's gimmick was Mount Evans rules. So he would defend the championship in a Mount Evans rules match. So that's it. So nobody else would have a Mount Evans rules match. They're great matches, but if you have a whole card of it, the audience will get bored of it. I know I don't want to dig out Rumble Promotions and things like that. There will be old school fans that will sit there and enjoy it. They are great. They're great to be in because you can do more in it. You can do more and do less, sort of thing. It's not about hitting each other at 100 miles an hour. It's more methodical. More methodical. So yeah.
We're back when I started with my the ring announcement and then the commentary back in BECW, which is where I first met yourself.
Yeah.
And Ian had some Mount Evans rules matches there and that, and I remember him saying to me, along the lines, "You do understand the rules, don't you?" I was like, "Yeah, I understand." Like, he goes, "Well, I'm going to tell you just in case you forget." Like, commentary was forgetting some of the. I was sitting with Ben Lawrence, and I'm sitting there going, "I'm sure there's something else," and thinking, God. But one thing as well is, no disrespect to Ian, working commentary with Ian is it's not the word chore, isn't it? It is like doing probably like
you buy it. If you don't buy it, he'll leave you alone. If you buy it, he will keep poking you and poking you and poking you.
Which is why some of my favourite footage that I'm only involved as a ring announcer in was listening to poor Ross and sitting with Buff Broadside and Ian Loveless, and Ross can't get a word in edgeways, and then when Buff goes to speak and Ross goes to speak, then Ian sticks up for Ross, was saying, "Let him speak then," when it's actually Ian that's distracting him up. And I remember when I think at one point Anton was considering it, and he was going, "Oh, I don't know whether I'm going to just stick with you two today, or whether I'm going to get a third one. I don't know who's going to be available." And Ross is sitting there going, "Please not Ian Loveless, please not Ian Loveless." Oh my God!
I've done commentary with Ian before, and yes, now people have complained that we've got off into our own little world just to entertain ourselves. But he's a good laugh. The thing is, backstage Ian is as quiet as a mouse, so quiet. And then, I mean, if you get to know him, he's got a very dry sense of humour, very dry. But yeah, when he becomes Lord Ian Loveless, he's this big character. Huge character, completely different person.
When he brings out that megaphone.
The amount of times he is in my face, even as tag partners, and yeah, the amount of times he's done that, it's great. But it's another great thing because a lot of the older generation bite at it when he's talking because the kids, but the older people who get involved, he's that good. He really is. He deserves more.
I can't remember. I can't remember. It was the last show we had. UKPW had the one in November, or it was the one before there. I had to quickly go and have a word with this old boy who was in the front row. He was literally taking some of it quite seriously, to the point where he got out of his chair and he had his hands clear, and he was heading towards the ring. And I was going to try and because I think that was it. I think Kimberly Jameson, who was working some of the camera work at the time, she was closest to him. Couldn't see him because she was like, I had to get out of sleep in such a. You got to sit down, mate. You got to sit down.
That's what you need. I mean, myself and Ian and another wrestler. He was called the Leader, an old friend Andrew, and we did a BCW show, and we were Lord Ian Loveless's masked knights. So I was under a mask, Andy was under a mask, Ian wasn't. And Andy was giving it to this old bird in Mitcham. And then me and Ian come walking over to help him out. And she pulled a flick knife out on us.
What?
Yeah, legit. Pulled a flick knife out on us. I had to grab a chair. And I held a chair. I went, yeah, come on then. I'm pushing this chair as we're all trying to scuttle away as this old dear's got a flick knife.
Whoa.
Yeah, man. That's heat.
Yeah. I mean, in the hindsight, you're thinking, please don't stick me with that. But at the same time, you're thinking, okay, this is working.
Yeah, I mean, one of my early matches is a Rumble, because everybody does a Rumble when they start out. Did an All-Star Rumble, and it was at Fairfield Halls, and we had to do a pull apart. We had to pull Robbie Brookside apart from Steve Sonic, and we had to do this big. They were doing this thing. We had to do this big pull apart, and as we pulled apart, there's this old boy with a walking stick. And he's just whacked Steve Sonic in the back.
Oh dear!
I stood there with my mate Rob. I was there with Rob Lynch, and my mate Stuart went, look! Bosh!
Wow! I remember one of the only because I unfortunately only got to meet him a few times. One of the last conversations I ever had with Mal Mason, which was at the Rumble show at the end of 2019. We was having this conversation before the show, and I was saying to him, hopefully at some point down the line, I'm going to end up becoming a manager of heels at some point. And he turned around and said, he said, that really good. He said, can you do promos? I said, I can. And there are a few people who have seen them. They know I can. He said, I've only got one bit of advice for you. And I said, what's that then? He said, when you're at ringside, keep an eye behind you. He said the old ladies do like to have a bite.
Lloyd Ryan, the manager of Kendo, his son Damien, I've wrestled him a few times, and he's told me some old stories as well. He said you had to be really careful back then, really careful. So yeah. Also, don't overshadow your talent as a manager. Don't do all the talking.
Oh no, definitely not. Definitely not. What's your? Do you remember who your first singles match was with? Can you remember where and who it was against?
First singles match was against a young man who was called Chase Limit, who then went on to become Kieran Donnelly.
Oh,
who I trained with as well.
Okay.
It was for R&V. It was at the Kenley Memorial Hall, and we had a very good little match. That was my first singles match. I'd been in tag. I'd done a few rumbles, and I started doing some tag matches and things like that. But he was my first, off the top of my head, my first one-on-one match that I remember.
It's good that you said that you had a good little match there, because most of the people I spoke to when I talked about their first singles match, you go, it was terrible, it was awful.
Well, yeah, if I was quite lucky because I wrestled with someone I trained with, so I would, because being the older one, I'd not lead the match, but say, do you remember to do this and that? Yeah, we do this and that. We just do some of the stuff that we learned that these people don't know. They don't know the sequences we learned, and yeah, it was a nice little match. I've always been very much less is more. So yeah, but also we were trained. I say trained to wrestle. We were trained not to overthink and talk. We were trained not to talk. We were trained to take a hold and then move to the next transition. And that's how I was taught to wrestle. I wasn't taught how to sit down and write it out on a pad or anything like that. which isn't a slight on anyone. But I've got plenty of stories. Been going on for just over 35 minutes now. When Ian and I lost the tag team championships in, what was it, 11 seconds?
Something like that, yeah. It was
something like that, 11 seconds. So what happened was, I think the show got overbooked, and there was you were ring announcing, as I recall, And our match started with 10 minutes, and then it went down to 8 minutes, and then it went down to 6 minutes. This is all including entrances. And I'm there with Ian, and it was like, and Kieran Corrupt and Connor Mills hadn't turned up by then. So we hadn't had a chance to discuss anything. And I said to Ian, God, why don't we just go out there, do a double noggin, both eat their finishers, 1, 2, 3. Because there's a triple threat match to go on after us. There's another match. And Ian went, yeah, that's it. Yeah, why not? Why not? Let's do that. So Kieran was in the car with Connor on the way up, and they were like, Connor was like, oh, we got today? He went, oh, we got Earls and Loveless. He went, it's all right, they don't plan anything. They've come walking through the door, and Kieran's gone, all right, we're on first. Oh, we went, yeah, don't worry, we've planned it all. He went, what? I went, I told Mills don't plan. I went, no, we planned it. This is what's going to happen. He went, really? This is what we're doing? Yeah, this is what we're going to do. We're going to get out there. And yeah, it got a nice little reaction, which was the main thing. It was about getting the boys over, but it was getting that reaction, that cheer that we had lost the tag titles finally.
Yeah.
So many months. So, yeah.
So in that aspect, less is more really worked.
It does. And I will say it to anybody, you don't get paid by the minute.
No.
All right? You don't get paid by the minute. It's not WrestleMania. Okay? You've got to tell a story. You've got to tell a good story, but you haven't got to bust your nut. Just take your time. Please take your time. Slow down. Because the audience need to figure out what's going on. If you're wrestling just to get one of them, a golf clap, or a this is awesome, you don't want that. You want them chanting your name. You want them either booing you or cheering you. You don't want to hear the company names being chanted or anything like that, or Fight Forever, or all those horrible wrestling chants. You want to hear either your name being chanted or they saying that you suck. That's what you want. And those are the only two things you need to do, is a good guy or a bad guy.
Yeah, I mean, I had that thing when I started to transition into the Mouthpiece. And I was kind of like, I need to find a way of letting people know that this guy sitting at the desk next to Ross, I'm an arsehole now. I'm not, what they were used to hearing. And we had there was one day where I think Buff wasn't, he was meant to have been the MC for the day, but he wasn't there. And Anton said to me beforehand, he said, I need you to pull double duty. Can you ring announce basically from ringside and all that? So I made the announcement, and I had a little bit of arrogance put a little bit of arrogance in there. And I just said, unfortunately, Buff Roberts, I cannot be here today. So you people get me. And I got this big boo, and I was like, I find it. I loved it. It was only a few seconds worth, but I loved it. And I was like, they got it. Brilliant. Yeah. Okay. Now I'll shut up and sit down.
Exactly.
It's good when you're getting what you want from the crowd, no matter how big or small it is. When you get what you want, I just found it really satisfying.
Yeah.
So that was really good. So as we've mentioned, we've got a women's division planned. What do you make of the names that have already been announced?
Truthfully, I know none of them. I've never met any of these girls because BHW, we don't have any girls on our show because where we run in our area at the time, British Empire Wrestling, BEW, were running shows with more established women like your Tony Storms, your Dakota Kais and things like that. So it's not to be in competition with them. It's a case of they're doing the girls, and that's what they're focusing on. We're focused on the other guys. So people have got an option. They can go to both shows and enjoy it just as much. BHW is more about character. We've always been about character. Your work rate doesn't bother. I'm not fussed on your work rate. I'm fussed on your character, your persona, and obviously, can you sell? Can you sell stuff? And that's the way I've been about it. Because the idea for us is to get mum and dad to come back. Okay, so if I can get either the mum and dad to laugh, cheer or boo, or at the end of the day come up and say to my people I have plants in the audience to give me feedback, and they're not wrestling fans. And that's one thing I think Alex and Jack should do, is have a couple of non-wrestling fans in the audience to give their feedback, to say who because they're not the wrestling fans, so they can say, oh, such and such was really good, or they weren't all that. Sort of thing. So anybody who's a bit marred now, hasn't been booked at BHW for a while, Look, I get my feedback from non-wrestling fans. So I think you're all lovely people. I really do. I think you're all lovely people, but if you're not clicking with the non-wrestling fan, it's not for me. So that's what I'm going to say about that, really.
I mentioned because I know obviously you've worked at BECW as well. I know that one of our signings
had a lot of fun at BHW for a while. Had a lot of fun there.
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. I was there. I still owe Richard Delight a little bit of a payback.
You leave Richie alone. He's a good lad. He's very misunderstood, is Richie. Richie is a good lad.
Well, he took me out backstage, and I never got back. He threw an old school telephone at the back of my head while I was down. You know, to be fair though, in the words of Jim Cornette, he's a heel. Speaking of which, just before, actually, I'll mention this. Yeah, because one of our signees, Kimika, she's former BECW Women's Champion, and I wondered if you know. But let's talk about Jim Cornette. We know you love Jim Cornette. What is it that you love so much about him, apart from the honesty? And I mean, I can watch him for hours rant just about Vince Russo.
I love his storytelling. I love when he tells the old stories of working in the territories when he was on the camera, or just learning little bits and pieces that we can do. Like, I'm not going to spoil anything, but he was on about crushing apples the other day. Like, who just died recently? A really strong one. It's tip of my tongue. Jim Ross's favourite wrestler, not McGurk. Not Leroy McGurk. He was the promoter. Anyway, but he was a strong man and he could crush an apple with his bare hands. But he said the way the wrestlers do it and work it, he said you have to boil it a couple of times and then you can crush it. So finding out little things like that, and just his rants and raves sometimes are a bit extreme. I don't normally on his podcast, particularly on the what's the one on Wednesdays? Not the Drive. The Experience, when he goes into his political rants and stuff like that. I kind of zone out because I'm not interested in anybody's political opinion. Keep it to yourself. But it's the storytelling, and when he does have a dig at modern wrestling, because we can see it, but you know, I listen to critique to change stuff. And a lot of wrestling needs to go back a bit. It needs to go back. It really does. So,
it's what we fell in love with in the first place. It's just not the same. It's really not. I mean, I'm a mark for NXT, but even NXT over the last sort of 18 months or so is kind of steering away from what made me really fall in love with the NXT.
There's no audience there. There hasn't got that audience there to react to stuff.
Yeah, it could be.
They've got some great people there. They really have. But because there's no audience there to react to it, no one's looking like a star. I've wrestled in front of 6 people, and we managed to get reactions in front of them. Now, because they can't have any people in these arenas, that pumped-in noise is awful.
Yeah.
I know it's a product. They have to put stuff out there. So they're damned if they do, and they're damned if they don't. They really are. But back to the great JC. I love his storytelling. I like the fact he's doing watch-alongs now on the drive-through. So you can go back and watch some old Midnight Express stuff, or he's talking about other matches he was involved with. I love his watch-along he did about the Heavenly Bodies versus the Steiners, where Jimmy Del Rey just got all this shit in, and talking about Yokozuna and stuff like that. So yeah, that's why I like him. It's a breath of fresh air from all the other sort of neckbeardy sort of podcasts. I don't particularly like What Culture.
That's one thing on the.
Back and bite me in the arse.
We'll see how that pans out.
I've never met Simon. I've never met him. So, from all accounts, from the feedback I've heard from people, he's a really nice guy. So, I've never met him. So.
They should change his entrance theme to the What Culture. The old.
He's right though. I will say I do like some of his stuff that he does. Some of his stuff is really good. So I can't complain about that.
One thing I'm looking forward to with the WWE Network, I'm sure this is probably something you're going to watch, is that new series they've got coming out where they're talking about certain the icons,
the legends, the icons, yeah.
Yokozuna, Davey Boy Smith, for example. Just, I mean, the Yokozuna one's the one that I've seen more footage that they're putting on there. That looks like that's going to be a
I've listened to the Something to Wrestle With about Yoko and the Jim Ross one about Yoko. It's kind of basically the same podcast, but from two different perspectives.
Yeah,
I do like the long form because it's interesting. I was always interested about the backstage stuff as a kid of how, and yeah, it's a bit sort of like the behind the magic sort of thing. Once you learn how a magic trick's done, you're not impressed with it. But with wrestling, I'm still impressed with certain things and stuff like that. So. Yeah,
when you see all these, I mean, we've grown up, we've seen all these backstage photos where you've seen people like Undertaker, Paul Bearer, Yokozuna, all just hanging out together and all that. And it's like, because we grew up, we
believe they were in separate locker rooms in different sides of the building.
Exactly. And you're looking at all that, and it's kind of like, I bet there's some great stories.
I remember the first time when I saw, the good guys and the bad guys running and convalescing over a wrestler was when Funk and Foley got pushed off the stage, because I hadn't seen ECW at that point when the Sandman got burnt. So when they got pushed off the stage and got pushed, and I was like, hang on, there's good guys and bad guys are all helping each other. And I was 16 at the time, and because back then I wasn't smartened up to anything. I didn't have the internet. I didn't read the magazines or anything. I just watched it as a television product. So I wasn't smart to the business at all. So for me, that was mind-blowing that all the good guys and the bad guys were all helping to help Mick and Terry out, because Jim Ross was going, Terry Funk's a wrestling legend and Mick's a really nice guy. And yeah, so, yeah.
I tell you what, as well, do you think, and this is something which I've thought, do you think the internet has ruined wrestling?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Nothing's a surprise anymore.
The internet, nothing's a surprise. The internet has ruined everything. It has ruined wrestling. It's ruined TV shows, movies, sport. It's
in some cases social lives.
In social lives too. I mean, the idea of the internet originally it was the information superhighway, but and now it's just become a place for people to come off and coat off wrestlers and movies and comic book films. I miss
the days of, you'd have the dial-up modems, and do you remember when WWE used to have Bite This?
Yeah.
It was, that was, the only kind of exposure we got to some of the people's real lives. I still remember with the Matt Hardy, the Matt Hardy Edge Lita triangle thing, and on Bite This, it was very, very real, and it was spoken as real, and that was, everyone was kind of like, it was the biggest topic. Did you hear they were talking about real life on there?
This was the thing, because when I met Rob Van Dam, that was at the same sort of time, and Matt Hardy was at that signing.
All right.
Just after they'd broken up, and the news had broken, all that, and I like I say, I still didn't have the internet then. I didn't have the internet till, God, no, I think after WrestleMania 23, maybe. So that's how long it took me to get internet and a PC. I had no need for it. But the whole love triangle thing, stuff like that, it was crazy. It was. But and people are asking. Matt Hardy's there. He's just sat there signing like he does not want to be there, and people are asking him about his brother and stuff like that, and he just did not look like he wanted to be there. But there was wrestling on that day as well. FWA were there. I got to see Paul Terrell versus Alex Shane. So,
Alex Shane.
Yeah.
I remember talking to. It was around about Easter time in 2019. I remember talking to Pete Dunne. We was having this discussion about. He was saying one of the problems with wrestling and that these days in viewerships is, he said, wrestling's too overexposed. So like WWE, for example, he said, you think about when we were all kids. You'd have your Raw, maybe SmackDown, or before SmackDown came along, you'd have your Shotgun Challenge or your Live, and you'd have a highlights program at the weekend on Sky One or whatever. That was pretty much it. Now you've got WWE's social media releasing highlight videos, the clips. He said it's just, and now you've got the network. Yeah. He said you've just got content after content after content.
And the biggest problem with the product today, because of the product today, is during that whole ratings war between WWE and WCW. the amount of high quality matches that were put on free television, and competitive matches as well, and now people expect there to be a competitive match every week. You didn't see Hulk Hogan when he was WWF champion every week on Superstars or Challenge. You might see a recorded promo. You didn't see him wrestle, and that's what made him special. And this whole thing of the title needs to be defended. The title doesn't need to be defended. It doesn't. It only has to be defended at the big shows, whether that be an In Your House or a rum. It shouldn't be defended at the Royal Rumble. I think the champion should have the night off that night. The Royal Rumble should solely be about the Royal Rumble match, and the two championship matches in between should be the tag match and the IC or the US title. I think the main champion should have the night off from that, because it's the whole, and then the following show, their title's on the line on the following pay-per-view before Mania, the warm-up, or they should go back to Saturday night's main event. Get rid of the pay-per-view every month, have the big four again, and have a Saturday night's main event in between, where you can have the tag titles in the main event, and no one will kick off about it because they build up to the tag title match. It doesn't have to be about the champion all the time. Because
a lot of pay-per-views are so watered down. It's just like watching an extended episode of your weekly show.
Yeah.
That's the thing. There's no spectacle about it, about any of them. That's the other thing that's really annoying.
The last time anything special happened was when AJ Styles beat Jinder Mahal for the title on SmackDown in Manchester. It's the last time I remember anything special. And that was special for a lot of us because we never expected anything like that to happen over in England. Never. The World Championship changing hands in England, even on a television show. And I liked Jinder. When Jinder was champion, I loved it.
I thought it worked. I thought fair play to him.
Absolutely. Oh, we need new stars. Oh, but we don't need him.
Still secretly hoping Slater's going to slate and come back more.
Anything could happen.
Why not? I actually rated the guy, to be fair. I actually thought Heath Slater was...
People say, once he saw it and he's overdoing tours and all that, get him in for a training session. Apparently he's one of the best teachers of the modern guys. He's one of the best teachers to learn from. I mean, I personally like to get Ricky Morton over.
Oh, Ricky Morton. Oh, man. Oh, no.
Anyway, so, we need to talk about UKPW. We've been on for an hour.
We spoke a little bit about UKPW. Let's talk about your biggest influences, your heroes, so to speak, in wrestling. Who they could be anyone personally, anyone you've been a massive fan of.
I don't have heroes because Hulk Hogan broke my heart many years ago, and it wasn't when he joined the NWO. It was before then. It was when the steroid trial that broke my heart. So I've never really gone the way of looking. I admire people. I mean, there's people I respect, and that's like James Mason, Steve Manelli, Mansfield. Any of you young lot who are joining UKPW, get a chance, work Adam. Get a chance to get in there and work with Adam. Flawless, absolutely flawless in the ring, and he will help you so much. The same with Steve as well. If you get a chance to work with Steve Manelli, because Steve Manelli's an old villain. And if you're looking to become a real villain, get in there and work with him. Obviously, we can't get James Mason anymore as at NXT. Tony Scarlo, my trainer. Tony Scarlo, man, I respect so much. Taught me so much. Helped me out, particularly recently when I fell off my bike. I went over the handlebars, but I managed to do a roll and save myself. So that's one good thing about learning to wrestle.
Take your ass there.
Yeah, absolutely. Most of the guys backstage all have my respect. I mean, there's guys I like. Ric Flair, I love watching Flair, particularly now with the network. I just go back and watch old Flair matches. Sting, the Rock and Roll Express, the Midnight Express, the Rockers. Oh God, I tell you what, Jeff Jarrett. I forgot how Jeff Jarrett really is. And also, I know he's an enhancement talent, but Barry Horowitz.
Barry Horowitz, I remember was he had the heart of so many. Because the guy on it obviously had such a massive poor run, but everyone just loved him.
Yeah.
And I remember Barry Hart, and then when he finally gets the win,
I remember that. I remember when he won and all that. And the same with Sean Waltman. Go back and watch early Sean Waltman, Lightning Kid, 1, 2, 3 Kid. Even I say he's run up in '98 when he was working with The Rock. That last stretch of '98. So I saw it. I went to Capital Carnage, so I got to see X-Pac versus The Rock. All right, I'll be in soon. So I've been called from dinner. Yeah.
Those days. I mean, that Capital Carnage show, I think, is still very underrated. I thought it was a really, really great show.
Yeah, I've been very lucky. I'm very lucky. I got to go to Capital Carnage, so I got to see Austin, The Rock, Taker, Kane, Mankind, Triple H, Gangrel, Edge, Christian, and then I got to go to the first Insurrection, which was headlined by The Rock and Triple H. Had the Dudley Boys, had the Hardy Boys, so I got to see all those guys at the time, all at their peaks. So I'm very lucky to say I got to see all that.
I mean, if I'd been in Capital Carnage, I mean, I would have been quite happy where Patterson come out and announced the matches, the changes to the matches.
Well, don't forget, I still wasn't really smart. I wasn't smart to the audience. I wasn't smart to the crowd, smart to the industry. So I just booed him because he was a McMahon stooge.
Oh yeah, he would have booed him anyway, gone along with it because that's what they would have wanted. But I mean, I would have loved to. That's one of the things I'm really sad about with Pat passing away. Is I would have loved to have had that opportunity to have somewhere down the line have been able to have met him and picked his brains. I always had a soft spot for Pat Patterson and everything he's contributed, and I absolutely love the guy. So we're going to finish up.
Because I've been called in for me dinner. It's like playing football with the kids, isn't it? Got to go in now. My mum's calling me.
He's in the bin. He should have been down here an hour ago. We from what we've been told, UKPW when it relaunches.
I made roster.
Yeah, my name on it ain't on yet. Boo. It's basically almost being rebranded as an experience. There's a lot of new aspects that management want to introduce to that. So it's going to be more than just paying your money, going watching a few hours of wrestling, and then going straight home.
I completely agree with Alex, and Anton had that idea as well. Anton was very much on board with that. I am too. A show should be an experience because a lot of these kids won't get to go to a WWE show, so you have to make your show just as important as that. And we might encourage some kid to one day want to go learn how to be a wrestler. So. Yeah,
I mean, there's one guy I already know, and he's just turned 16. He has autism, but he's very dedicated and switched on when it comes to wanting to train. Obviously, I need to speak to a few people about that because he's asked me to try and see if I can point him in the right direction. But it's great when people are so determined to when they see what everyone does and everything to want to, think I want to part of that. I want to at least give it a go to see if this is for me and that. And I think that's the thing as well, because obviously I know, unfortunately, certain schools have suffered because of the speaking out movement and that, which we won't go into. I think, do you think it might be when COVID's over, it might be an idea to try and see if we could get some new schools, maybe some in Kent, set up again? And
I mean the local one to me is Ohio Valley, the old Al Snow one, run by Terry and Liam, Terry and Liam, who are trained that guy. He trained with them.
Vacant?
No.
Simon
Miller. That's it. He trained with those guys, so that's a good school to go to. But if I will say this to anybody who's watching this who wants to get into business, if you can't do it as a wrestler, there's always other jobs to do in wrestling. So if you can't wrestle, you can be refereeing. Now, to be honest, I mean, there's a handful of good referees, and UKPW are very lucky. They've got Martin. BHW, we've got Charlie. But those are two guys that have tried wrestling, so they know what the feel is and stuff like that. And they can read the audience and what to do and stuff like that. So don't be let down if you can't be a wrestler. You can be a referee. You can be a ring announcer. I love ring announcing and commentating as well, because I used to do it as a kid playing with my Hasbros. Used to do it all the time. So if I get asked to do ring announcing, I'll do it. If I get asked to ref, I'll ref. It's fine. As long as I'm part of the show, as long as I'm there and I'm helping people, that's all that matters. So that's what I say to anybody who wants to get in. Just because if you can't wrestle, there's always something else to do and be involved with.
Yeah, prime example of that. I trained my ass off.
I saw your pictures.
My health got in the way. My health got in the way. I was told it's not going to happen. Try something else, and here I am. And like I said, hopefully I've still got gold, which I love as well. I've gone from my announcing, which I didn't particularly. I never really liked ring announcing, but I did it. You know, it's a foot in the door. It's an opportunity, and you're doing someone a favour. I'm now on the commentary. Didn't like the generic side of it. Now becoming a heel, which I do enjoy, and I want to do the Bobby Heenan where I commentate, but I want to manage heels.
Right, try not to do the Bobby Heenan thing. Try to be Stephen Bennett.
Yeah, no, I mean the job description. You can't be Bobby Heenan. I mean,
no, but Always remember to be the first you. Never try to be the second somebody else. Always be the first you.
Of course, there's only going to be one mouthpiece. Obviously, but no, that's brilliant. James Earls, thank you so much for doing that.
You want to do a quick word association before I go? Because I've been enjoying those when I've been seeing those.
You want a word association?
Let's do it. Let's see if it makes it.
Okay, right. Let's think. I'm going to might try and make these a little bit harder. Right, heel,
face,
armbar.
Hold number 5, I think, isn't it?
I think it was every hole, wasn't it? Jericho. That's a reaction that
was good.
Vince McMahon.
Godfather.
Jim Cornette.
Hero. Says the man who doesn't have heroes.
Ric Flair.
Legend.
Road Warriors.
Legendary.
Adam Page.
Future.
Young Bucks.
Shit.
Adam Cole.
Eh?
Adam Cole.
Baby. What about people we know?
Steve Manelli.
Villain.
Sid Manelli.
OVER. Trust me, that guy, smooth as anything. He's got it. He really has.
I always say on the commentary how much I love his drop kicks.
Oh, beautiful.
Perfect. I love his drop kicks. They're poetry in motion. Okay, Adam Mansfield.
Old school.
Martin Raymondson.
Oh. No, because when you mentioned Martin, all I can think of is what Ian and I tried to do to him when we were in that gauntlet match. I legitimately tried taking his trousers off. Good river.
Dale Jones.
Oh, money.
Alexander Roth.
Roth. Roth. Well, he's my bae, but more than anything, unsung.
Anton Green.
Friend.
Gabe Myers.
Friend.
Okay. Trying to think. Buff Broadside. It can't not include Buff.
You can't not include my other friend Buff Broadside. Ball of Fun.
Hugger. CJ Gunner.
Is this because of what's been going on online between me and CJ?
Fast count.
I love CJ. Quick story about CJ. I got to wrestle him up in Luton once when we were trying to move in Luton, and he was digging me out. He was digging me out in the car park for ages. He was just sniping at me, and I kept taking it. And in the end, I was stood there. I said, "Listen here, CJ." I said, "You're working me today, aren't you?" And yeah, I said, "No. Now there's two things I can do. I can make you look good, or I can make you look shit and tie you up in knots." And then he stopped. He stopped digging me out, and he was like, "We're all right." I went, "Yeah, of course we're all right." And we had a really nice match. His missus were there, and I think his nephews were there. And I did everything I could to make them really enjoy the fact that CJ could have a really good match. And I took his cutter off the top rope and things like that. So yeah, I love CJ. He's an easy wind up.
Right, last few. Fentos.
Smartest man in the room.
Without doubt. Ross Griffith.
Quiet.
Not quite enough. Last but not least, the Mouthpiece.
Good laugh. You're a good laugh.
Thank you. Brilliant. It's been fun. Let's not keep the missus waiting any longer because your dinner's going to be in the bin at this rate. But James, it's been absolutely fantastic.
It's been great seeing you too, mate.
Wish you remain in all the health for you and your family. Hopefully see you sooner rather than later.
Absolutely.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, James Earls, thank you so much.
No worries. Take care. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye now.
Thanks, Stefan.